So, Mark, did you hear about this guy on this Virgin Australia flight? About an hour in, he just goes nuts, takes off all his clothes, attacks a flight attendant. I mean, I feel like this is just like Wednesday afternoon these days with all these crazy viral videos and stuff. There's no video of this apparently, or I haven't seen any, but Live and Let's Fly covered it.
Do you want to see?
Yeah, I get. Well, blurred out maybe.
No, I mean, I can't remember a completely naked running down. Like we see disruptions and that dude back there isn't real, girl, and all that stuff. But this is the first time in a while that I can remember a guy streaking the plane. But I mean, I think the people in first class or business class or whatever that tackled him deserve like some type of medal, because I would not go anywhere near that with a dude running full barrel down the aisle. I'm not jumping on top of him or anything. No thanks.
I think kudos to everybody who didn't pull out their phone. Isn't that what everybody does today? They don't help. They just pull out their phone and film it. So, and then they post it so they can get clout on social media and get likes. Maybe nobody did that. So maybe kudos to them for that. But if you thought your life was in danger, I mean, this is a serious incident. I mean, we're laughing about it and we know everything turned out okay. But if you're scared and you think somebody's going to attack the plane or they've lost their mind enough to like strip down naked, we've seen other incidents, people on drugs and sort of whacked out. I think you would jump in and help. No?
I might trip him, something like that. But I mean, you can't blame the guy. He was just watching in-flight entertainment. He was watching old school, and he got inspired by Will Ferrell streaking through the quad, and he wanted to be a part of the movie.
This is a look inside Mark's head every time he has a few drinks on a plane. Just the dream. He's living the dream.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've talked about the Chase Sapphire cards on the show before, the Sapphire Preferred and the Sapphire Reserve. Very popular travel cards. The Sapphire Preferred may be the most popular travel card, and they're both in the window where they have increased offers right now. 75,000 ultimate rewards after 4,000 in spend if you do it online. There's a slightly better version for the Sapphire Preferred in branch, and we're getting whispers that it's going to end in the next couple weeks. We don't have an exact date, but we start to hear when the bank has started putting that message out there. So if you have this thought, you may want to apply soon. We probably will get a final date before it ends. So you probably will know an exact date sometime in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I don't get why banks will be like, you can say end soon, but we're not going to give you the end date yet. It never made sense to me. And then in like a couple weeks, they're like, okay, now the end date is this. It's like, what's the delay for? Maybe so you write about it twice or talk about it twice. I don't know what the thinking there is, but that's all we know for now. There's some rumors of the in branch offer ending, I think like June 22nd, but those don't always run the same as the online offers. Sometimes they last longer, sometimes they're shorter. So we can't say that for sure, that the online ones are going to go there or even in branch, because we haven't gotten that word yet. But if you're interested in it, and I know a lot of people are like waiting to downgrade, maybe their 4 years is coming up that they can get the sign up bonus again. So if you're kind of in that thing, be proactive, get it downgraded, get it ready. So in the next couple weeks, you can take advantage of it.
And we usually see increased offers on these cards, what, about twice a year? So if you don't get it this time, maybe wait. I don't know if it's right to wait. Sometimes, it's just get the card when you need it, even if it's not the best bonus. But they do come around every so often. And so this won't be the last time we'll ever see it increased. Probably.
Probably. Yeah, you got to put that in there. You never know. I'm in the boat of just grab it when you can, because the 48-month clock, you want to get that started. That's probably more important than, an extra 15,000 points. But if you have a P2 referral, your spouse or significant other, you can make up the points there by using that. So there's always options. You just grab it when it makes sense. But hopefully it times up. Usually I grab it and then a week, like 2 days later, the offer goes up. So that's how it works in my house.
Pretty much the same here. So this time we do have a video to share, a viral video, and this is about hotel rooms. On the MTM Vegas show, shout out to that show. If you've never watched it, if you like Vegas, make sure to check us out doing that show. But we talked about my experience at Rio because there's been thefts in the room there, and I went and stayed there and tried out the security lock and it didn't work. And thankfully they went to every room apparently and inspected them and fixed them all, which is great. But that doesn't help you if something like this happens that you're seeing in this video where they use a magnet and they get a thing to open the door. And think of the idea, sure, you could be in the room and secure it when you're in the room, but when you're not, you can't do that top latch or anything, and your stuff is in the room, not protected. Is this scary to you? I mean, part of me thinks that this probably
Yeah.
isn't happening, but it could.
Yeah, but I mean, now that if they did it as like a joke or just to show what's possible, now it's out there, so people know it's a thing. So there's good to that at least we're aware of the possibility, but there's bad because now it gives people ideas or they try to do it type of thing. So yeah, I mean, if you're not in the room, at least it's just your stuff. So okay, that sucks, but they're just in there when you're in the room. If they're doing this, that's a scary thought. So I know some people buy like extra protection that they bring off of like Amazon, like a door stop and stuff like that that they'll put in the room. This makes me kind of want to do that a little bit more. I've never gone that far, but I'm considering it now. It's scary stuff and just kind of random. You would hope that there'd be some cameras in the hallways for stuff like this, especially in like in Vegas and stuff in places like that where they have a ton of rooms and things going on. But a lot of hotels probably don't have cameras, so they're not even able to see that this is happening unless somebody else walks down the hallway and witnesses it.
Even most Vegas hotels don't have cameras in the hallways for liability reasons because so much stuff happens there that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, but that is the case. So, yeah, don't expect that they're going to have that on camera. Usually, elevators do, other public areas do, but I don't know how you protect yourself if you're not in the room. They can open the door. We've seen videos all over social media of them being able to hack safes very easily. I mean, what do? You got to bring like a big chain and like lock your stuff. I think at some point you just have to sort of let it go and do your best. And if somebody breaks into your room and steals something, deal with it with insurance or however else. I think I'm more concerned about the safety when I'm in the room with my children and stuff like that. And that's what those physical barriers like door stops and other things could work so that you're safe and nobody's going to get in while you're sleeping.
Return of the fanny pack, Sean. You just carry everything with you all the time. That's the key.
A giant a giant fanny pack. There you go. I think that's a great
Yeah.
idea and it makes you look cool in places like Japan where I am right now. As you walk around like perfect tourist attire.
Yeah. Just get a Lululemon one. You're good to go. There you go.
So I am at the Hyatt Centric in Ginza in Tokyo and doing Tokyo Disney. And so we'll talk about my Japan trip. I flew the Flying Hanu, the A380, a great redemption, talked a little bit about that. So we'll talk on a future show about what I like about this hotel. This is the second year in a row I'm staying here and some good Tokyo stuff and Japan stuff for everybody coming up in the future. But let's talk about Hilton gift card issues. And this is something that you've had and a lot of people are having issues. You talked in a previous show about how some of the Hilton cards have these credits now and they work for Hilton gift cards. And people are getting more and more of these Hilton gift cards, and they're not always working. Some properties they work right, some properties they don't. Somebody will say this is the trick to getting to work, and then you go to a different property and it doesn't work there, like adding it to Apple Pay, but then the hotel doesn't take it. This is nuts. Like, why in 2024 can't they figure it out? I've had similar issues with Hyatt gift cards, which I still have gift cards sitting at home. I just haven't used because it's such a pain to get them to apply it at checkout. And I've just like put it aside, not too much, but it seems like fraud may be a big issue here. And then they just get overly protective, but it is not working well for people, right?
Yeah, and this was kind of like a nice way to use those credits on the Surpass and the business card and all the stuff they've added in the Aspire card. They added those recently, and you're not staying at a Hilton maybe every quarter, but you could buy these gift cards online, and it was triggering the credits, so it's cool. And then you go to use them, and it's just frustrating and annoying. So and people on Twitter when I wrote the article, I think Frequent Flyer said it like he's like, I think this is just the property doesn't know what they're doing or user error, but we have reports of 2 of the 4 gift cards working on property. So I don't think that's really the case. Like, why would 2 of the 4 that you have work and the other 2 wouldn't? If they knew how to apply the first ones, they should know how to apply the second 2. I mean, some of the things you should do is make sure they run it for the amount of the gift card. It doesn't just like auto drain. So you got to do that. Like you said, Apple Pay, they can get added to Apple Pay if the hotel takes that. That might help. But the problem is, American Express issues these. They're not coming from Hilton. You're ordering them. They're shipping them out. Maybe they're forgetting to activate them or whatever the issues are there. But it's like a third party that you have to, and that adds a layer to it where you call Hilton, they send you to Amex, and Amex is like, I don't know what to tell you. It's just a real pain.
Yeah, hopefully this gets some exposure so Hilton executives see that this is going on because this is terrible from a customer perspective. You shouldn't have to worry about it. It should just work like a credit card, like or cash or whatever. You just go up there and it's hassle-free, frictionless, and they know what they're doing. And if that's not the case, then Hilton needs to get with these properties and make sure their systems are working right and that everything is right. But it does sound like there's also the problem with American Express or something being tied in altogether and whatever it is, I mean, no excuses. This is bad for a customer and it's not cohesive and it's not the experience that Hilton customers need or want, and probably not the experience Hilton wants their customers to have.
Yeah, and I used mine. I was staying at a property that had a spa, so I just went down there and bought the gift card directly. And I feel like that might work better when they're sliding it themselves, they're loading it themselves. I was able to use that checkout. It took a couple hoops to jump through. So it was still painful. I mean, it might not have been as painful as trying to split your final bill across 4 credit cards, or you don't look as poor as you would doing that way. Like that's one thing. You're like, people are in line behind you. Everybody wants to check in or check out, and they get annoyed. And you're sitting there feeding them like 4 different credit cards. So I figured going to buy a gift card would be easier. It didn't make it any easier. So this whole system kind of stinks if you have multiple Hilton cards.
So you think people are like judging you, thinking, "Oh, he only has $50 left on his credit limit on that card, and $60 on that
Yeah,
one."
exactly.
Travel hackers get judged so much because we do all kinds of crazy stuff like that, where we end up just being out of the system. And it's funny because depending on the person, they'll just their mind will get blown. Not at the hotels or something, but when you're doing something that's just completely out of the norm, people automatically get suspicious of you or judge you or just think you're an imbecile. And maybe that's true. I don't know, but yeah, this isn't good. And I don't know. Hotel gift cards just not my favorite thing in the world, and it's not just exclusive to Hilton. So we're gonna move on now to my favorite subject, theme parks. And when I met Mark, he was just so anti theme park. He hated Disney,
Still am.
didn't really love Universal. In this last year, I've seen you go to Fun Spot in Orlando, have a great time. And like what, a month or a couple months ago, you said, I just booked a VIP tour at Universal Studios Hollywood using points for you and your son. And I almost lost my mind. I couldn't believe that you did it.
Yeah, I will say I do like amusement parks, which Fun Spot falls more into that line. Theme parks usually aren't so much my thing, like the Universal and Disney. I do prefer Universal because Harry Potter and stuff. And I just think it goes more with my interests. But yeah, this we had a father son trip going to the LA area, and I was trying to come up with some things to do. Originally, we were thinking about going to San Diego for a day and then driving up, but he wanted to spend more time in LA, and I'm like, hey, do you want to go to Universal? And he was like, yeah, okay. So I'm trying to figure out like the coolest way to do this. And I'd never heard of the VIP tickets before. So I pull it up and it's like $425 is what I paid per person. I got them through Undercover Tourist, which is a great like travel hacking website to go to for one main reason, that it codes as travel. So you can either earn bonus points that way or you can redeem Capital One miles and stuff like that to wipe off the charge. So that's what I did. I booked the 2 tickets, $850, wiped it off with my Capital One miles. So technically, in air quotations, free. But I was excited for it. And have you ever done the VIP at Universal or Disney?
I have not. Disney does them on both coasts in different forms. I think Universal's is just a little bit different. The only time I've ever done it at Universal was in Singapore because I knew the general manager of the park and he gave me a personalized tour. So I actually did get the VIP experience with all of the backstage stuff, escorted on all of the rides, but I didn't pay for it. But it was amazing. So I can imagine you had an amazing time there in Hollywood.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that come with this. You start off, you get there a little bit early. Our ticket, you have a time ticket a little bit of when you meet your tour guide or your group leader, and ours was for 8:30, so a bit before the park open. We go into like this little lounge area that they have a breakfast spread there, so if you don't eat at the hotel or you get up late, or if you're not getting free breakfast at your hotel, this is included in the price. So we had that. VIP parking was included, so that I rented a car explicitly knowing that I was going to have free parking or included parking. Drove right up to the valet, dropped it off. $60 normal charge that gets taken care of because of your ticket. You go in, sit down, have a little bit of breakfast, sit there for like 20 minutes, and then you meet your group and you go out with 12 other people. And he or she takes you around the park, kind of like what you do and what people like you do when you go to Disney. They know the perfect path to go to places and how to get from this ride to that ride, and they have like their phone that tells them which rides are up, which rides are down, where the lines are, all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. But we started off with the lot tour or the studio tour, which is a ride you can take on your own with like 200 people on this big long tram. It's an hour long, and you get to see a couple things. You have a little bit of like 3D rides included. But we got on a bus with two groups, so 24 people, air conditioned bus, and we got to like go into unique things like go into a studio and walk around and see what the show looks like when it's filmed. And we got to stand on Back to the Futures, the town square with the clock tower and all that stuff, we got to actually get out and walk around and touch the walls and all that stuff, which was really, really cool for a movie lover.
Yeah, that backlot is a real backlot going back, so it's so neat, so much history there. And I have seen people on those tours being able to get out and been super jealous. Like I said, never done that before,
That
but it's so
That's what's okay. So we get out at the Back to the Future thing. It's funny that you say that. And they have they had to call it the time travel car because for whatever they can't call it the DeLorean for legal reasons or whatever it be. So he's like, yeah, the time machine or whatever. Go stand take a picture. So we're all taking pictures with it, walking around the grass, and all of a sudden the regular tour comes by, and they're all just looking at us like, what the who are those people? Are those some famous people or what? So it's funny, it's kind of like we've talked about when you're sitting first class on the plane and everybody gets on and has to walk by you and mean mugs you. So you get 200 people mean mugging you as it goes by. I was cracking up inside.
So Universal Studios Hollywood, a little different than Universal Studios Orlando because it started out as a movie studio. It's on sort of the side of a mountain and there's very limited land there. And so it's not nearly as big. And they've been very creative over the years with the way they've expanded the park. But again, also the movie studio is right there as well. But how did you think it compared between the two parks, between the East Coast and the West Coast?
The East Coast Park is definitely has a lot more rides, a lot more to do. So if you're into that type of thing, like more roller coasters, all that stuff, if you're more into thrill rides, you would probably want to do this in Orlando. If you're a big time movie buff, like we walked where Home Alone 2 was filmed for the New York scenes and stuff on that lot, and just the history that you go through on that back lot tour for a couple hours is really, really cool. So if you're into movies and into Hollywood cinema, all that stuff, I think this tour might lean to you a little bit more because you're not going to get that experience in Orlando that you get here. So the rides aren't as good. It's a lot of, like the movie experience rides where you're sitting and it moves you around back and forth and you're not really actually going on a ride. So there's a lot more of that aspect, which they have in Orlando too. So it kind of depends what you want. I know you love those video rides.
No, I don't. But it's Universal. It's sort of their trademark. They're moving away from the much higher quality stuff, including in Orlando. They're building a park called Epic Universe, which will be the East Coast home of Super Nintendo World, and that'll be the full version with the Mario Kart ride, Donkey Kong coaster, and a Yoshi ride. But over in Hollywood, they built a truncated version that just has the Mario Kart ride, a bit smaller. Now, I did the version in Japan, which is going to be similar to the one on the East Coast at Epic Universe, and it felt pretty small and cramped. So I can't even imagine what the Hollywood one felt like. But with that said, when I walked inside, it really did feel like you were in a video game.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, they did it well. It's very small. There's only the one ride. There's not a ton. I mean, they have the cafe there, which is hard to get into and all that stuff. It's really it's immersive. Like they have the coins moving. It looks like you are in the Mario game, which is really, really cool to anybody that loved Mario growing up, like I know the both of us did. So I give them kudos for that. It definitely is on the small side. I wouldn't like fly across the country to check that out. I'd probably just wait for Orlando. But the cool thing is, we did the lot tour and then he's like, all right, let's go do some rides. So we go and you have the line cutting pass. So your VIP ticket is just like the quick pass or whatever it's called that you get to cut all the lines. There was a couple times that there was, other people that had that but weren't VIP in the quick cut line. Most of the time we walked right to the front, but a couple times like on the mummy ride and there was like 20 people and he's like, excuse me, VIPs, move to the right, and we walked right past them all. We got on the Mario ride, which people have waited up to 4 hours to get on. We got on that in like 25 minutes because you have to go in like each room for 10 minutes. It's just kind of the sequence. We got to the front as far as we could, but then from there on you're spending 20 to 30 minutes in these little rooms moving along. So that was kind of cool. And he takes you from one spot to the next, and it's quick. Like we wouldn't be able to figure out how to get from this ride to that ride as quickly. So that's really unique and awesome. But it's a little bit of a drag too, because you're going to Mario World and you're going to the Mario ride, and then they're like, all right, let's go back out and go to Jurassic World's ride or whatever. So you don't get to take your time as much. So that's one of the takeaways. But we sat and had lunch, a catered lunch, and it was actually like food I would pay for. Sean, it blew my mind how good it was.
It's amazing to be a VIP. I can just imagine how great you felt with everybody's VIP here as you went through. So you pissed off people on the backlot tour and in line at every ride. How amazing
Yeah.
is that? So in the end, you know what the cash price is. Obviously, you were able to wipe it off, but do you think it's worth the price that they charge for it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, you get like a full catered lunch. It's like a buffet, is really good food. And you sit down, you're not fighting crowds to find a place to sit or wait in line to order food. Like that's all taken care of. You go through this whole thing. And the really cool thing is like at the end of the day, he finished about 2:30. So we were with him from 8:30 to 2:30. We saw all but like two rides that he got us on. And he's like, all right, go have fun. The park closes at 8, and your VIP ticket is a skip the line pass for the rest of the day. And a lot of people buy those, and I noticed this. They don't realize it's a one-time use unless you pay to upgrade. Those are already like $250 tickets. Then you got to pay another like $50, $75 to upgrade to unlimited use. So you're already like only $100 away. You got VIP parking, you got extended tour, you got a guide taking you to the front of every line, you got food included. So I think if there is a lot of value, it's probably the best value for theme parks if you're into it. And then at the end of the day, everybody's already used their one skip the line pass at each ride. So we just kept walking on, over and over again, and never waited in line for any of the Harry Potter rides. Nothing. It was just like instant access for the entire day. So definitely worth it. Now you want to do it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely want to do it. I'm a FOMO, so I'm booking my ticket right now. Definitely sounds like it was worth the money. Obviously, it's a splurge and not everybody can afford it. And, that's an unfortunate thing about the world today, but also, amusement parks and theme parks, pay to play is a thing. And, unfortunately, the haves and the have nots are separated. And one of the great things is you use travel hacking and this sort of hobby and doing this to become a have, I suppose, a VIP, so people would scream and get everybody out of your way, which is fantastic. I said I suppose way too many
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean that's the whole thing about all this. We talk about like you can travel better, and that's not just getting on an airplane or staying in a hotel room. Like you can get these tickets. One sign up bonus for a Capital One card would have covered these two tickets, So that's the opportunity. You spend $4,000 on something you would have bought anyway, your groceries, your utilities, your gas, and then you get a VIP experience at a Universal. I think it's the exact same price at Orlando too. So I really want to check that out and compare the two and see, do you get to go to both parks in Orlando or just one of them, and how does it compare, and you get more ride activity there. So I'm excited to try it out there as well.
So real quick, anything else from Southern California? I think you stayed at the Tommie there, which is a Hyatt brand. How was everything else?
Yeah, so we stayed at the Tommie because it was close to Universal. I wouldn't recommend it. It was nice. We had a free night cert left to burn, so I think it's a Cat 3. Was able to use it. Used a suite upgrade the second night. I had a point stay, so it got to the suite. And the problem is the suites are on the top floor, and they're actually pretty nice suites. Tommie rooms are usually pretty small. This is a decent sized room with a pull out couch and everything, but the top floor, and then they have a rooftop bar, and their soundproofing sucks. And she even said like, hey, we want to let you know that it's probably gonna be kind of loud rooftop bar. And I was like, okay, yeah, some noise, whatever. No, it's like you're in an EDM concert until 2 a.m. It's just and you can hear people dancing and heels clicking. It's horrible. So and somebody else said any interior facing room like overlooking their courtyard gets the same no matter what level you're on. So I would recommend to stay away from that hotel, uh, even though it's convenient for Universal, but Hollywood isn't the best area anyway. So I wouldn't stay there. And then we moved to Oceania, which is a Hilton property in Santa Monica. That is now my favorite Hilton in all of the U.S. Beautiful property, very small boutique. You walk in, the pool's in the center, like a courtyard. All the rooms wrap around it, overlooking it. We got a suite that had like a little nook, with a bookshelf and all the stuff, and a big living room, big bathroom, awesome bedroom, and it was really really cool. Amazing service. Used a free night cert to stay there. Normally like $700 a night, and it was everything you hope when you hear like Park Hyatt and Waldorf Astoria, like the service and the detail and everything. Fantastic.
That's great to hear because I don't think that hotel was on my radar at all and not too far from me for a quick drive. I'm always in Southern California, so looking forward to that. Tommie, it's one of the cheapest properties for Hyatt in all of LA, and I always wondered why. And now I think you answered the
Yeah.
question. Small rooms. The standard rooms are tiny there. I know like 200 square feet, but even the nicer rooms, you're dealing with that nonsense. So maybe they'll get that fixed. But sounds like an amazing father-son trip. And if you were just to pay cash for all of this, those types of trips aren't possible. And we talked on previous shows how you can just take a weekend trip, do some really over the top stuff. and not worry about, that it was 5 grand, which is probably what this all would have cost if you paid cash for everything.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been right in that ballpark, and we just paid a little bit for the taxes and fees on the flights. All the hotels were covered by points. Had to pay a couple $100 for the car rental, and but the theme park tickets were covered. So it was just like food and drink after that, which you can do a lot if you're eating chicken tenders like we do. So we had some good Chinese food. We went downtown, checked it all out. It was a lot of fun. We went on the Santa Monica Pier, rode the rides there. So we packed a lot into 2.5 days. I'm definitely exhausted. We're filming this as I got home from the airport, and I just want to go lay down.
Well, let us know what you guys think about anything. Have you ever done a VIP tour at Disney or Universal, East versus West Coast? What sort of tips or experiences did you have? That hotel room hack, does that scare you? People breaking into rooms, all of these viral videos about all of this stuff going on, the crazy airplane incident. Have you picked up a Sapphire card? Leave a comment. We're a new channel. We really appreciate your support. So make sure to subscribe, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. We'll discuss everything. It helps us with the algorithm, but we're really happy to be building this community. If you're interested in Vegas, check out our MTM Vegas show as well. But most importantly, Mark needs to go to sleep. I need to go see Tokyo. So we'll see you guys next week.
Have a good week, everybody.